afternoon. Provide an update here from the scene where we're continuing to work through the situation involving the explosive material here on Murders Avenue, or Murders, what is it? Menders. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Excuse me, folks. It's on Menders Avenue. So here's the latest update right now. One of the complications that we're dealing with this box is that there is a high number of blast caps in the box in addition to the commercial grade explosives. So because of that, it was really kind of jumbled up in a mess. So that didn't allow the robot to go in and actually pull the explosives out. So what that means is our bomb squad technicians are going in and by hand, carefully and diligently, cautiously removing the pieces of the explosives, and obviously not the preferred or the expected method, but that's the method that we have available to us based on our continuing assessment of the situation. So we've been monitoring the situation from in the command post, from the drone footage, and it's been extremely tense, extremely slow going, but they are making notable progress going in and literally pulling those out by hand. So they are making notable progress pulling out the contents of the box, again, which includes those commercial grade explosives and the blast caps, to separate those and then take care of those, dispose of those separately. Are making notable progress, but we are still expecting that this is going to be an event that continues into the night, and maybe even potentially into tomorrow morning. So that's where we're at this moment right now, is again those technicians taking turns going in and out, pulling out the explosives by hand.
Now, Scott, is this kind of a one at a time kind of thing, that each person's just going in, grabbing one, coming back out?
They're using their best judgment this is really carefully and meticulously do this process, and then to stack those into those areas where they're going to soak them in diesel fuel and then burn them once they get everything out, and they feel like they have appropriately separated the blast caps and then disposed of those separately off-site along with the commercial grade explosives.
Do blast caps require a different method of disposal?
They do. Generally, that's a detonation, as I understand it. You would go and you would let those detonate separately. We're taking those off-site over to our range facility to take care of those. And then, obviously, by ATF standards and protocols, you would not package commercial grade explosives and the blast caps together.
So roughly what time did this start?
This process has been going on for probably 2 or 3 hours now at this point. So again, really meticulous, slow work, really dangerous work too, I should admit. It's been tense at times, us watching the technicians go in and reach into the box and pull out those explosives. But at this point, they are making notable progress and feel like that that we are making some gains on this.
In terms of the evacuation that's in place, are you expecting that to continue through the night tonight, or could that end sometime early? We've
not made any changes to the evacuations at this point, but of course that's a fluid situation. Again, as we said in our last briefing, we get that it's an inconvenience, and that we've had residents who are over in the emergency shelters and that are not at their homes, and the businesses aren't open. But we're going to keep the evacuation zone on the boundaries that we have in place as long as we feel like we've got an active situation and still a volatile situation. Are making notable progress, but at this point we haven't made any changes to the evacuation area.
What is the risk as far as detonation at this point? You said that the box has stopped smoking, correct? So what risk still remains there?
This is still obviously a really volatile situation. We're still assessing exactly what we're dealing with. Again, this is outside of ATF protocol, where you would have blast caps mixed with a commercial grade explosion. And as I understand it, blast caps are the thing that you would attach directly to the explosive to create the spark that would then create the detonation. So that's part of the complication we're dealing with, is that we had all these things that were mixed in this large box, and trying to sort through that and carefully remove all those pieces.
You guys said that you might stop if it comes nightfall. It can become more difficult. Do you guys plan on working through the night, or will you potentially stop?
They're going to keep working as long as they can until they feel like it's safe. Right now, they're continuing, like as we speak right now, they're actively going towards the box, making approach to the box to pull pieces out of it and to clear the contents of that box, and then separate those and then dispose of them in the manner that you need to dispose of those. Again, we're working with blast caps, and you're also working with those commercial grade explosives, those dynamite type devices.
How will residents be notified when
We'll notify them in as many mechanisms as we can. We'll of course notify you all immediately, and we're going to really rely on you all heavily to say this is all clear for we've given the all clear for people to come back into the area. The situation has been resolved, but we'll also figure out some other mechanisms, more direct mechanisms to alert people. Of course, we still have the emergency shelter opened over the Jacob building. The emergency shelter will remain in place with the assistance of the Red Cross until it's no longer needed. Chief Noel was over there just before this briefing. He had stopped by to talk to the folks who were utilizing the emergency shelter. We had about 30 people at that time using the shelter. Just trying to keep them up to date and comfort them and let them know about the timeline they might be working with until it's safe to come back to their home.
Do you know what the material was in the box that was burning? Is that packed?
That was actually the box itself. As we understand it, it was the door itself that was burning.
It's got wood inside of it as a protective measure for the outside of the box.
And did the bomb squad do anything to suppress the fire at all? Was it cover the?
The challenge there is that anything you could potentially do to suppress the fire might also aggravate it and cause it to detonate. So no, it was.
You don't try to smother it or anything like that.
No, we were really in a wait and see approach most of the night last night because of where you were dealing with the smoldering and at times fire on the box. So really in a wait and see approach because the concern would have been that any action they could have taken against the fire would have potentially aggravated and caused some kind of detonation.
So it just burned out itself?
It burned out itself, and then we were also with the robot able to move the door away from the box itself.
Can either of you speak on if this was a proper way for those explosives to be remained until if they weren't untouched, if that would have been a problem in the future if they were not untouched?
It certainly was not stored in the proper manner. As Scott alluded to earlier, there's certain ways that the ATF says this stuff has to be stored. Blasting caps away from the explosive devices, so it was not stored in the proper manner. Could it have caused a bigger problem later? Absolutely. We don't know what that is exactly, but certainly it could have been worse than it is today. The whole situation has played out very safely and well, given the situation that we've been dealing with.
I know that earlier today you said, or authorities said, that about 200 pieces of dynamite were in that box. You've since said you're not really sure how many pieces of dynamite are in the box. Do you have any idea at this point? Or?
That was what initially reported. The initial 911 call, for anybody who's heard the audio of that call, is that we were told that from the individuals who discovered it at CMC was that they thought there was about 200 pieces of dynamite or explosives in there. We're still working through that. As I said, actively as I walked over here, we've still got technicians going up to remove items from the box.
About how many items have been removed at this point?
I don't have that count for you right now because by the time I walked over from over here, they would probably changed. So,
right.
But we hope to have a good idea once we get through this of how many items were removed from the box. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.